Ananai nai nai nai, yai nai 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 nai, yana nai 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 nai, yada nai 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 nai, yai nai 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 nai, yada nai 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 nai, yai nai nai, yai da nai da nai 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 nai, yada. Yada die 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 die, yai die 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 die, yada die 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 die, yada die 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 die, yai die 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 die, yada die 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 die.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to everyone here in our sanctuary, a small group of very close family and some friends. Shabbat Shalom to the many people on Zoom and to everyone who's coming through the live stream. Shabbat Shalom to our student cantor, Lainey Zell. We're so grateful for virtual technology so that we can be together, even though you're not able to be with us in the sanctuary on this Shabbat. We're so glad, and I'm so glad, we're leading this service together. Welcome to everyone. It's a beautiful morning, and we hope you'll be an active participant from wherever you are in our service today when we not only celebrate Shabbat, but celebrate Claire becoming Bat Mitzvah here in the midst of family and a few friends. Let me mention that we really hope everyone will participate. Our prayer book, Mishkan Tefillah, is available to you, even you online. If you're on Zoom, the link will be put in the chat. If you're watching on the live stream, you can click right above this picture where it says, shows a picture of our prayer book, and that way you'll be able to open up two screens together and follow along. Claire will be inviting you to read with her and sing with her, and we hope you'll feel comfortable doing that. We're going to feel your energy coming to us through the e-waves, I am sure. We look forward to Claire's leadership in our service today, which is part of becoming a Bat Mitzvah. But also, before we get to that point, we want to invite her parents to have a private moment with her to mark this day, to offer their own personal and private blessing to their daughter as she takes on the status of Bat Mitzvah. So at this time, I invite Cindy and Matt to stand with Claire as they take a private family moment. Our cantor gives some music to this time.
Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Lechi lach on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach.
We are going to continue our service now on page 195. As our cantor leads us in the Baruch, the call to worship, I'm also going to ask Claire to come to the podium and prepare to take over the service after the Baruch. Whether you are at home and comfortable rising physically or spiritually, we hope you'll do that. And here in the sanctuary, we rise as well. Cantor's up.
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Please. Olam, Yotzer Or, Uvorei Choshech, Oseh Shalom, Uvorei et HaKol, HaMeir la'aretz, V'ladarim aleha v'rachamim. Uvtuvo mechadish b'chol yom tamid, Ma'aseh v'reishit. Marabu ma'asecha Adonai, Kulam b'chochma asita. Maleh ha'aretz ki inyanecha, Tiparach Adonai Eloheinu, Al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, Va'al me'orei or she'asita, Yifa'aru chasela, Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, V'nizkeh kulanu mehereh la'aro, Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer ha'me'orot. Our service continues on page 198 with the first paragraph of Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chem lagedol avitera, Chamalta aleinu, Ba'avur avotenu, V'yimotenu, Shabbatchu v'cha, V'telamdeim chukei chaim, Kein techonenu utlamdeinu, Chem rachim aleinu, V'teim b'libenu lehavin, Ulhaskil, Lishmoa lilmod ulamed, Lishmor ulasot ulkayem, Et kol divrei Talmud Torah techa be'ahava. We continue on English on the next page. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land, in every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and the sages of Israel. And joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Amen. Please.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed.
To Claire.
Page 201. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol vavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anuchi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha v'derech, uvshochbeha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. L'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitam kedoshim l'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim l'chiyot lachem l'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please join me in the English. Love Adonai your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside of your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Page 203. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
204, over to our cantor. We hope you'll join in this very happy song.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osei fele, nora tehilot osei fele. Shira chadasha shibchu geulim leshimcha al sefat hayam, yachad kulam hodu vehimlichu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Ufedechinu Mecha Yehuda veYisrael, Goleinu Adonai Tzivot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Please rise for the Amidah, and we'll start on page 205. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imo Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Velohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol, Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidomelach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatuv al yad neviecha, v'kara ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Meloch ol haaretz, kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir Shimcha bechol haaretz, Baruch kevod Adonai, Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, vehu Yashmienu, berachamav leinei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Tzion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid godlecha, ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nagdish. Excuse me. Let's continue. Let's continue with the next blessing, Rabbi.
Thank you. We are, would everyone please be seated? And we're on page 211. Page 211, the prayers that focus our minds and hearts on the specialness of this day, Kiddushat Hayom, one of my favorite beautiful readings from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel at the bottom of page 211. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On the next page, Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utefilatam ba'ahava tikabel, utehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadecha be'yira na'avod. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best that is in those around us. Won't you join me in the last paragraph? Give us patience enough not to be discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadecha be'yira na'avod. And this section of our service ends with a prayer for that which is most precious to us as individuals, to our community and our world, a prayer for peace. On page 216, Sim shalom tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barchenu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, be'or panecha, ki be'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed, utzedakah uvracha, v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom, v'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, b'chol eit uv'chol sha'ah, bishlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. O God, may we never become complacent, faltering in our effort to build a world of peace. Let the nations know and understand that justice and right are better than dominion and conquest. May all come to see that it is not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit that life prevails. And after those words of peace, I invite you to take a peaceful moment, a private moment for your own individual prayers.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael,
And now we've come to the next section of our service, which is really the highlight of the service for every young person becoming a bat or bar mitzvah. Claire, becoming bat mitzvah here in our midst, will lead us in the Torah service. She will read from this week's Torah portion. Becoming a son or daughter of the commandments is most deeply connected to the ritual of reading from the Torah and embracing the commandments that are contained within it. As many of you would imagine, it takes a lot of preparation to get to this day. And Claire, you are so ready. You are ready to go. And we know you couldn't have reached this point without a lot of support, your wonderful immediate family, but also parents, your parents and grandparents. And before we go forward at this part of the service, I want to congratulate the grandparents and give a shout out to all the grandparents. First of all, to Sherry and Mark Miller, who are here in the sanctuary, to Susan Garin, who is here in the sanctuary, and also to Jerry Garin, who is right there. And we're going to hopefully say hi to him and congratulations to him. Glad he is there participating, and we know he's watching over his granddaughter today, which is wonderful. We have a ritual here in our congregation, many congregations, of passing the Torah from one generation to the next. So at this time, I'd like to invite the three grandparents to join Cindy and Matt and Claire as they come forward, taking our Carpathian Torah. Come forward, everyone. I invite you all to come forward to the Millers and to stand in a line here with Claire at one end. And this Torah is going to be passed as our cantor sings through this generation of families.
Ein kamocha va'Elohim Adonai ve'ein kamasecha malechutecha malechut kol olamim u'memshaltecha bechol dor v'dor.
Now I'd invite Cindy to go forward to our podium to share some words with her daughter.
Claire, as you receive this Torah, remember its teachings, its wisdom, and its history. Let it guide you this day and all days. As you embrace it, so may you embrace what it meant for the Jewish people over the generations. Judaism is history and hope, learning and laughter. We pray that the story of the Jewish people continues brightly with you as you grow as a person and as a Jew. May you embrace the Torah your whole life.
Beautiful. And Claire, as you hold that Torah, together we sing with our cantor, Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav.
So wonderful to see this extended family standing together. And now I'd ask Cindy to place the Torah back. And I'd like to ask Matt and Claire to come to our reader's Torah. Grandparents can be seated. And we are about to, Matt, if you don't mind removing the cover and placing it on the side there. Go ahead, Claire, and open the scroll. And also, won't you please tell us about the Torah portion that you have on this Shabbat?
The Torah portion for this Shabbat that I will be reading is called Vayachel Pekudei. It comes from the book of Exodus, and my Hebrew reading begins with chapter 40, verse 26. In this portion, the tabernacle is finished, and God's presence creates a cloud over it.
Thank you. And for the first aliyah to the Torah, we'd like to invite your grandmother, Susan Garin, and your uncle, Josh Garin, to this podium to lead us in the blessing. Ya'amdu ha'olim la'aliyah la Torah.
Yep. Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayasem et mizbach hazehah be'ohel moed lifnei haparochet vayakter alav ketoret samim kasher ziva Adonai et Moshe vayasem et masach hapetach lamishkan ve'et mizbach ha'olah sam petach mishkan ohel moed vaya'al alav et ha'olav et hamincha kasher ziva Adonai et Moshe.
Beautiful. Closing blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yesher koach to you both. You can be seated. And now for the second aliyah, it's my pleasure to call Claire's parents, Cindy and Matt, to open with the blessing, Ta'amod ha'olah la'aliyah la'torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayasem et hakior ben ohel moed uvein hamizbeach vayitain shama mayim l'ruchsa brachatzu mimenu Moshe v'Aharon uvanav et yirehem ve'et raglehem bivoam el ohel moed uvkorvitam al hamizbeach yirchatzu kasher ziva Adonai et Moshe vayakem hechatzer saviv lamishkan v'lamizbeach vayitain et masach sha'ar hechatzer v'chol Moshe et hamelacha.
Beautiful. Closing blessing. You guys?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And now for the third aliyah, it's my great honor to call our Bat Mitzvah for the first time by her Hebrew name to the Torah. Ta'amod, 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 habachor, haba mitzvah, Shira bat Zlava, Ahava, v'Matthew, la'aliyah l'Torah, hazak.
Baruch et Adonai hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vaychas he'anan et ohel moed uchvod Adonai maleh et hamishkan v'lo yachol Moshe lavo el ohel moed ki shechan alav he'anan uchvod Adonai maleh et hamishkan ufhe'alot he'anan me'al hamishkan yis'u b'nei Yisrael b'chol masehem V'im lo ya'aleh he'anan, v'lo yis'u ad yom he'aloto. Ki anan Adonai al hamishkan yomam ve'esh. Tihyat laila bo lenei chol be'Yisrael bechol masehem.
Beautiful job, beautiful job. Closing blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'dechenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Congratulations, Claire. You did a beautiful, beautiful job with your reading. And now it's my pleasure to invite your younger brother, John, to come forward and have the honor of dressing the Torah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאי לי 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 יאי לי 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 לי.
Wonderful job, everybody. Yes, kisses all around. As Claire now comes back, Claire, if you'll go back to this podium, we have the pleasure of having you share your own reflections, your own words about this day and this portion, becoming a Bat Mitzvah now. Thank you, Claire. Go ahead.
In my Torah portion, Moses is finishing the tent of meeting, including a wash basin, food, and incense. When Moses completes the work, the cloud, which is the presence of God, fills the tabernacle. God's presence in the form of a cloud determines when the people will go out on their journeys. Just as in the Torah portion with the Israelites, in the pandemic, there are certain conditions that must be met in order to move around and go places. For the Israelites, God's presence in the form of a cloud had to be with them in order for them to continue on their journeys. The Israelites probably felt safe and protected in God's presence. This can be compared to the current pandemic in many ways. For example, if God's presence did not fill the tabernacle, the Israelites were not able to travel. This proved helpful, as the Israelites were able to rest on days with unpleasant conditions. During the pandemic, many restrictions have been put in place to keep us safe, such as mandatory mask-wearing requirements and social distancing. These are similar to the cloud scenario that I mentioned before. If you are not obeying these requirements and have not been vaccinated yet, there are things you can't do. Even if you have been vaccinated, it still isn't clear what is safe. These restrictions apply to everyone and are for our benefit, just like the cloud scenario. Even if you don't like the restrictions, you will have to follow them, and they will help you in both the short term and the long term. For my mitzvah project, we sold masks on custom ink. We used the money from the sale to buy takeout for frontline doctors and nurses at Virginia Hospital Center in Arlington, Virginia. I wanted to pursue this project because many frontline workers, especially at hospitals, are having a rough time with the pandemic. Also, many local restaurants are not getting as much business as they would if there wasn't a pandemic, and are at risk of going out of business. With this project, we were able to help two groups at once. We helped frontline doctors and nurses by bringing them delicious food, and we helped local restaurants by buying takeout. We raised approximately $800 and bought takeout from Arlington Kebab and Pietanza. This project relates to my Torah portion because we are helping the people who keep us safe. Just like how the Israelites made a tabernacle with offerings for God, we're giving local takeout to nurses, and the Israelites gave God offerings. I would first like to thank my parents for supporting me through this entire process. I would also like to thank my brother, who's in 5th grade, for being nice and letting me watch what I want on TV, even if you don't like what I'm watching. Thank you to my cats Biscuit and Gravy for hanging out with me while I was practicing. Thank you to my friends Eloise and Dorothy for practicing with me, supporting me, and going to Starbucks with me. Thank you to Megan, Sarah, Anya, Ellie, Serena, and both Aarons for being good people. Thank you to my tutor, Eric Yaffe, for helping me learn my Torah portion. Thank you to the clergy at Temple Road of Shalom for leading the service and for helping me prepare for my Bat Mitzvah. Thank you to my grandparents for coming in person and over Zoom to watch me, and thank you for everyone coming to support me over Zoom. Shabbat Shalom.
Claire, thank you. All those thank yous, and thank you for your leadership today. And I'm going to invite you to sit down because you've done an amazing job and you deserve a rest. So as Claire takes her seat, I want to just follow up with some words on behalf of the entire clergy team and the Temple Road of Shalom family. First of all, I want to be the first, Claire, of many people to say Mazal Tov, congratulations to you for everything this day represents. It represents really not just a year of hard work preparing for Bat Mitzvah, but of a lot of preparation, learning what Judaism and exploring what Judaism means to you. Not just Judaism, but you've inherited traditions from your entire extended family and bringing all those traditions together to take on the next chapter of your life, Claire, as you become a young adult. That's what this day is about, and we're so glad that you're surrounded by loving immediate family and two very good friends. And I'm so glad that you were able to look into this ancient Torah portion, okay, which you could have looked at this and said, like, what does this have to do with me, right? It's about a tent in the wilderness. We don't live in the wilderness. There aren't that many tents around. It's about a cloud and God. All this stuff feels so distant. And yet you looked at this portion, you say, I see the connection here. I see how this could have meaning and message for me today. And indeed, that is the beauty of the Torah all the time. That's why we read the Torah every year. The text is the same, but our lives have changed. And there's always a message there. Claire, you so wonderfully found the message for today about what it means to, be able to engage in a community when you can, when you can't. I was noticing that the name of your Torah portion, Vayakel, means to gather. And as you pointed out, we haven't been gathering very much, and we're pleased that at least 10 people are gathering with you now, right? And there will be more gathering. But actually last week, the Torah portion also within the first line had the same word, Vayakel. Last week, though, the Israelites, as was pointed out last night, gathered Vayakel to create the golden calf. Not such a good moment in our history. They gathered to create a sort of a false god, something that they could sink their teeth into, something that didn't really represent anything meaningful. This week, Vayakel represents gathering for something that is good, something that is safe, something that is meaningful. And there's a message here for you, your generation, your friends who are with you. Glad you guys are here, and everybody who is on Zoom. We always have a choice, and that's so real for us today, right? We can gather for something negative, we can gather for something positive. This Torah portion reminds us that it's our job to figure out how to gather for that which is good, meaningful, positive. And when we do, as your Torah portion says, God exists amongst us. So last week, we don't hear about God joining the Israelite people. Of course, they were involved in something not so pretty. But this week, God is there in the tent between the people. Why? Because they gathered with a purpose that was positive, a purpose that was ethical, just, meaningful, caring, and we would add for today, safe. Claire, as you go forward as a young adult, you are going to face many moments where you have a choice to gather for good or for less good. We hope that this Torah portion will sort of make an imprint on you that every time you're hanging out with your friends or gathering with classmates or with your family, it's your job to say, let us turn this into something that is meaningful, caring, kind, generous, loving, safe, and good. This Torah portion is really an example of gathering for the opportunity to make the world a better place, even if it's a tiny world of your friends. So I hope you'll always remember, even if you forget the words of your Torah portion in Hebrew, remember its name, Vayakel, gathering for the good. We hope, Claire, that as you go forward in your choices, in your gathering, you will indeed bring many blessings to the circles you're a part of, even to circles you don't yet imagine what they will be. You have been a blessing for us today, and we are confident that you'll continue to be a blessing. And at this time, I'd like to, along with our student cantor, bestow a blessing upon you. It thanks you for your leadership today. It reminds you to continue to be a blessing going forward. So I'd like to invite your mom, your dad, your brother John, to come here and stand at the edge of the bima as I open the ark and our cantor begins an important song.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Claire, may God bless you and may God keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
As you have shone upon us so beautifully today, Claire, may God shine upon you throughout all of the journeys that are ahead of you in life.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
And may God grant you all the things you want, you need, and you deserve, Claire, and most importantly, shalom, peace. A peace that lives inside of you, a peace that you share with your beautiful family, a peace that you, through your many gifts, bring into our world. And let us all say, Amen. We continue. Cantor, are you with us?
Still here.
We're going to Aleinu. Is that right? We continue with, thank you guys, and you can stand at your seats because I'm going to ask everyone in the congregation to rise for the prayer Aleinu L'Shabeach on page 282. Page 282. Won't you join in singing Aleinu with us?
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please remain standing as we make our way from Aleinu L'Shabeach towards our prayer of memory, Kaddish Yatom. The Kaddish is on page 294. I'm sure there are wonderful members of the Garin and Miller families who are missed on this very special day, people you're thinking about. And we think about the members of our congregation who have yahrzeits on this Shabbat. Some of them are with us in order to say the mourner's prayer. We are on page 294, and we read this prayer together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye echon uv'yom echon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach leolam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithalev v'yithalal shmei d'kudisha b'rchu, leolam mimkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imeru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, b'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace and comfort and strength and love and support to all who are mourning, to everyone who is grieving here and everywhere, and let us say, Amen. Won't you please be seated? And now we turn back to Lainey Zell, who has some sharing she'd like to do on behalf of our congregation.
Hi, Claire. It's so nice to actually talk to you today. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person this week, but you did such a wonderful job, just as we talked about in our rehearsal last week. You really nailed it. And so in that vein, I would love to tell you about some gifts that you will be receiving on behalf of the temple. From the women of TRS, you will get a copy of our Reform Movement's home prayer book, in the hopes that this is something that you can use in your Jewish life throughout. You will receive an envelope with 2 gift certificates. The first is from NIFTY, the North American Federation of Temple Youth, to use toward travel in Israel during your high school years, which has some of my best memories of travel are in Israel. So I really hope that you'll use it. And just enjoy your time there because it's a beautiful, incredible place. The second gift certificate is from our youth committee and Tristy, and an all-important travel mug. Finally, from the clergy, you'll receive a Kiddush cup, and it's our hope that anytime you celebrate Shabbat, you'll use it and remember how much work and how much love you put into this day, and continue to go forth and spread your message of peace and love and safety throughout the world. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you. I want to, before we end with a closing song and a final blessing, I'll just remind those people who are on Zoom, if you could stay on Zoom, the family will rejoin you a few moments after the service in a different room where they can speak and you can celebrate Claire together. We turn now to our closing song, Ein Keloheinu, on page 322 in the prayer book, page 322. Over to our cantor for this final song.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kemoshienu, mich Eloheinu, mich Adonenu, mich Kemalkeinu, mich Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Inspired by Claire's leadership today, may we go forward from this Shabbat with an intent to gather for good, to be safe, to make good decisions, to create a world that is purposeful, moral, ethical, kind, and just. May the world become a better place through the actions of Claire and her peers. And let us all say, Amen and Shabbat Shalom.